Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Marian White, and with me is my co-host in Larchmont today since the early 1990s, Ken Bialo.
That was Larchmont yesterday.
Oh no.
This is Larchmont today. And today will be over in about 15 minutes.
And we've been through this the whole time.
We have been through the wars.
Well.
So what do you got that's good news today? Because I got some stuff that I would like to talk about, which
some
isn't going to be happy
heavy-duty
news.
stuff.
Well, I don't know if it's heavy duty, but it sure isn't. It isn't happy stuff.
Well, I just want to say that for Larchmont Rotary, this is sort of the beginning of our academic year, shall we say, and we have some important future events. We have the Blum Award, which is in honor of Max Blum, who was a member, and it is to honor youth in the community who've made a difference.
Yep.
And we've had amazing people, and we have another amazing person, and I hope that people can join us on November 22nd.
Is this a party?
Well, it's a lunch. And what's...
Is there alcohol?
Well, you can order it. You have to buy your own.
What? That's not the way to get a party group.
Well, now a place where the next event, December 11th, the Holiday Gala fundraiser with the New Show Rotary, the $75 ticket includes wine. So that would be more to your liking.
No, but
oh,
that's
that
all right.
wouldn't be okay.
Is that going to be in? Where's it going to be? In the Armory, or where's it going to be?
No, it's going to be in one of the lovely clubs in New York.
Oh, Beach Club.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's easy to get to, and at Christmas time, that's important. And then in the spring, we have the 34th year of the Hummocks Essay Contest. And the subject, really the subject for the last couple of years is how do people that, have different views, how do they get together as a group despite the disagreements and still move forward and achieve something?
Good food and alcohol. That's how you get them together.
Well, these are 5th, 6th, and 7th graders, or 8th graders. So,
okay.
Well, they're probably in the back doing that, but.
No, I doubt it.
Well, anyway, so it's a lot of fun stuff coming up.
Well, that's great. Are you still an officer at the Rotary?
I have been on the board of directors, I'm past president, and I run the youth events. So I have a lot of fun with that.
All right. So do you still serve on the board? I mean, is that an honorary? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just honored to be here with the Rotarian.
Aren't you sweet?
An old Terry and Rotarian.
An old Terry and Rotarian. Well put. Well,
congratulations. It's a lot of worthwhile work, and it certainly does great things for lots of people.
Well, one of the best things, these 34 years of the Hummocks Essay Contest, is that the teachers appreciate that the non-jocks are getting awards, the non-sports people, because the sports people, of course, always dominate. So, and then when Seth Wiseman was the principal there,
I thought he did a great job, by the way. I really was very impressed with what he did. It's just this great job.
Well, his daughter won.
Well, now that sounds like the fix.
Well, no, but then she's gone on to become a professional writer. So we just spotted quality early.
Good for you.
But that was really nice.
That's great.
So that's the good news. Let's go into real life.
Well, this isn't real life. I mean, we talked about this Centro project thing at our last show, and that was before the first public meeting held by the village board on this subject, which was sort of weird because they'd been working on it for, a year and a half, but finally came out with a public meeting where you could actually, in the words of the Sixth Amendment, confront your accuser. And you remember the courtroom where we used to sit on that old dais when we were serving? As elected people in the village. Well, the courtroom was jammed, clogged with people. And then the back room that was designed, I think, to handle an overflow from the courtroom, was not set up to handle an overflow at all. And I had actually called in the morning and said, it's going to be a big crowd there tonight. Just want to let you know, blah, blah, blah. And but apparently that didn't get through. But there was no seating in the back room. There was actually no cool air. It was as uncomfortable as the village board could possibly have made it.
But you're not accusing anyone.
I didn't say a word. I'm not accusing anybody. But I can tell you the back room had about 60 people in it. And I counted the number of people that were there when the back room was full. Because after sweating and standing for an hour and a half, that was sort of winnowed down to about 20. But when it was full and the courtroom was full, there were about 120 people there, of which I would say 3 were in favor of the project. I don't know whether the developer was there. I wouldn't recognize him if I tripped on him, but there's that. Certainly his lawyer was there because he was just going on and on and on.
And he's gung-ho.
Yeah, oh my God, what a surprise. And there was an architect there, I think, who was also making a pitch that they had modified something. I don't know, it was some nonsense that you couldn't hear anyway. I mean, there's no public address system. I remember when we rebuilt that place, I thought we put a public address system in that was designed for the benefit of the people who were in attendance, not just for LMC-TV. But whatever, that's fallen into disrepair. There's no public address system. There is no
So people can't
microphone.
hear?
I couldn't hear in the back room. I had no idea what was being said. But I know when our people sat down, I was applauding. They stood up, made their points, and sat down, and I was applauding. So it was very uncomfortable, but it was jammed. It was jammed. And as I say, I think there might have been 3 or 4 people in the room, plus whatever the trustees are thinking about this. It's hard to know. They were pretty inscrutable, was sitting there like this, and didn't say much and didn't do much. But I have to tell you, some of the people who live in our village and in the surrounding area that shops in Larchmont, are just incredibly articulate and smart. And it was really, I couldn't hear too much of what they were saying, but I'd pick up a little bit every now and again. And one person spoke, I don't know, for about 10 minutes, and she was intoning, this is a place that we love and we like to raise our children here, and we don't want to do it with these massive projects. It was no sooner that the one of these local website things carried an article about the mass of people who were there in opposition, and I will tell you that a petition was presented to the village board with 250 opponents. And I think the next meeting that's coming up, which will be on October 21st, I believe, next Monday night, some 7 or 7:30, I'm not sure, we're at the village center behind the library. There'll be at least another 200, maybe another 250 signatures on a petition. And I'm sure that those numbers will just multiply as this thing goes along because people are actively opposed. But it wasn't very long after the website thing that published some articles saying, oh, the courtroom was jammed, blah, 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 that a website thing published what amounts to a rejoinder from the developer. And one of the things that was pointed out, and we pointed this out in our last show, I pointed it out, and you said respectfully.
I said I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, was it just
terrible.
Complete baloney about the tax take that comes from this?
Which that's a factual question.
It's not even a factual question. It's kind of a foregone conclusion. Condos and co-ops in this state are not assessed at fair market value like single-family homes are. Full stop. It doesn't change whether you're in Messina County up on the Canadian border, you're in Erie County up now near Cleveland, all right, or you're in Westchester County down here. It doesn't change. The fair market value is applied to single-family homes. Listen up, Mr. Developer. See if you can get this right. See if you can get this right. And for co-ops and condominiums, a rental, a pretend imaginary rental value is what goes into setting up the assessed value, which is anywhere. Depends on what appraiser you talk to, depends on what township, what county. The number can be as low as 25% of fair market value, that is 1/4 of fair market value.
Whoa.
Or it can be, in some places apparently it is, up as high as half of fair market value, but not higher. So this guy, this developer guy, says in his papers that he files with the village and then repeated in the website thing, he says, well, it's going to be $400,000. It's an enormous amount of money for the schools. No, that was calculated using your idea of fair market value, $40 million. If it's 25% of that, it would be a lot. If it's 50%, it would be monumental, because that's not the way things go around here. It's about 25 to 35%. So that's just a blatant misstatement. But then he said it again in this interview by this website thing. And you know what? This is hysterical. But the website thing, I do think this amusing. The website thing published this interview with the developer who said the project was thoroughly vetted by the village, which is sort of a joke considering that their environmental forms are shot full of holes. They lied about the taxes. They invented numbers for the number of school children. Oh, well, it's only 2 to 5 in Bronxville. That's what it would be. What the heck has Bronxville got to do with that? Bronxville's full of apartment buildings.
Right.
This building, this pretend building that they want to put up on Chatsworth Avenue between the Larchmont Tavern and the corner store, this pretend building is 3 blocks from Chatsworth School. Really? Nobody's going to move there with kids because their kids can walk to school, or their kids can walk down to Vanderburg Park, or they can walk to Pinebrook Park? Really? No kids. Right. You got it, pal. Anyway, thoroughly vetted by the village. But then this article shows up in this website thing. I don't know, it's either the end of September, or perhaps it's as early as the first day of October. I can't date it because the thing isn't dated. And it says, the developer says the project is thoroughly vetted by the village. That's Larchmont Village, where I live and you live. Well, you know what? And it says right underneath that headline, it says who the authors were, and it says 1 hour ago, as if this is hot off the press, baby. This is good news right here, thoroughly vetted.
And this was
we
the
lie
September,
about taxes.
early October.
Yeah, September
Okay.
or early October. We lie about the taxes. We lie about the schools. We lie about the environment. They have no idea what the environment is there. It's 10 feet down, you hit water. They don't understand high water tables because this person had never been to Larchmont before he decided he was going to build this building. But here's the fun part. That same website today publishes exactly the same article, word for word, as they say in Brooklyn, word for word. And it says, here's the authors, and it says, what, 23 hours ago? No, that's not what you meant. You meant 15 days ago. You didn't need, you
And there's nothing unique in that.
No,
it's all the
you
same
should have
stuff.
well, see, in the one, I see the picture of the developer here on page 2 is in color, and I think that's a function of your printer.
Yes.
And this is a picture of the developer on page 2 of the first article 2 weeks ago, which is not in color because Kate's printer doesn't run color.
But it's the same printer,
It's
the same person's picture.
It's the same text. There's a pretense that this is news, and what they did is they republished the article word for word. Well, I gotta say, when a developer doubles down on misrepresentations, errors in his papers, I don't think that speaks well either for honesty and integrity or for understanding what it is they're talking about. It's just kind of nonsense. But you know, here's what they said in their papers. I mean, this is just, it's like you can't make for more fun than this. Here's what they said in their papers.
Except
they
it may be reality. That's what's sad about it.
I don't know. Here's what they said. The requested amendments would not have any adverse impacts on the village of Larchmont. Would not have any. Oh, wow, this is in their papers. Now, I expect them
No,
to
that's
exaggerate. We talked about this the last meeting. You'd expect them to make their best case. And this is their best case. It'll reestablish the value of the property for real tax purposes and result in a vast surplus. I'm reading here.
Vast?
What is that? V-A-S-T,
Yeah.
what's that?
Oh my
Vast
gosh.
surplus of taxes to the school district as the development would generate few school-aged children. Well, of course, that's a great thing to say. It's exactly what I'd say. And then it says, petitioner has reviewed all the pertinent environmental issues. We went through that environmental EAF filing in our last show.
Right.
It's shot full of holes. Just some stuff is completely dumb. Some maybe it's just a mistake, but I can't tell.
I just remember the traffic part had nothing to do with Went.
Traffic didn't. This is their traffic study. Da-da-da-da-da-da. The corner of Went and Palmer and the corner of Vanderburg, Went and Vanderburg. Those are the two corners they studied. They didn't study Palmer Avenue, which you know if you've ever been on it during the morning rush hour or the school rush hour, is immovable. You go 3 lights before you move, right? They didn't do Palmer.
Absolutely.
They didn't do Chatsworth, where the front of this monstrosity is going to be. They didn't do Vanderburg, and I'll be damned, they didn't do Went. What are you all talking about? You're going to have 4 curb cuts, and you're going to have 135 spaces, 90 of which belong to him, and 50 of which are going to belong to the village, and that's going to give a net increase to the village of 20. Holy Toledo, 20?
Right, because he's taking away space.
Of course he's taking away space. But can you imagine not doing a traffic study on the 4 blocks, but only at 2 corners? And then, what a surprise, the traffic engineers came in and said, we don't see any traffic. Where are the cars? Are there cars here? We don't see any cars.
Must have been Sunday morning or something.
That's not my favorite thing. These guys are just...
Could you explain
Yes. What?
well, why don't you talk a little bit about how people can find the wonderful website?
I'm going to do that in a second.
Oh, okay.
But before I get to that
Okay.
website, I just want to show you what I showed you before.
Oh, okay, yes.
right?
Astonishing.
So, here is what the project is described as. A 66,000 square foot, let's see, where is it? 66, it's not in this piece, it's in the other piece. 66,000, maybe 66.5 building project. So, I figure I don't trust this guy because he's wrong on a tax. He has no idea what he's talking about. So he's comparing Bronxville, which is a series, downtown Bronxville is 9 and 10-story buildings.
Right.
This is a nothing, this village is a nothing compared to that. And
We like it that way.
well, that's the point, and we don't want a giant, ugly-looking project in the middle of Chatsworth Avenue between Larchmont Tavern and the corner store. But here it is. It's 66,000 square feet. Those are his words. 66,000 square feet. So I took the plans and I measured. And you know what? You have like a little magnifying glass each time because the numbers are really, really tiny.
Yes.
It's, oh, this is 25 feet and 15 feet. That's 40 feet. Okay, 40 feet. Times how many feet going this way, times how big is that square and how big is that rectangle. Blah, blah, blah. When you get done, and that's why I wrote it right here in red, because this is about 10 o'clock at night one night. When you get done adding up from the developer's plans, the square footage of of the construction project, it's not 66,000 square feet. When you add in the subterranean parking, the above ground parking, and other aspects that are all disclosed right here in these little dimension things, I guess you'd call them architectural plans, it is, ready, aim, fire, 140,000 plus square feet of construction.
Whoa.
What now? What are they going to build? Well, they're going to build parking down below. They're going to dig down and put parking in the basement. All those cars are going to be flooded because the location is Larchmont Ledge Rock. I don't know how deep it is in the earth, but I'm guessing it's 8 or 10 feet. If you look at the Palmer Avenue project, go back there and peek in there.
Right.
You see the place is always filled with water, right? Which is right next door, right? But they're going to do one subterranean parking lot. They're going to use village land. The village has to give them land as part of this deal.
That really hasn't been pointed out, has it?
Well, of course it hasn't been pointed out because they don't want you to know that. But that is village land right there, which is going to go. This is the residential tower,
Okay.
which may be 66,000 square feet. Here's the subterranean parking. What's that say? Basement construction plan? No kidding. Basement construction plan. There it is. Oh my goodness. Look how big that is. And then we have.
Well, where's that water going to go? It's
Oh, well,
come
that
where I
water is going to
live.
be a problem. Well,
Yeah.
it will, you know that it will flood in there. And then there's more construction and there's more parking on the first and second levels, ground and above ground. By the time you are done adding up all of these places, all of these spaces, you wind up with 140, and that was a conservative estimate because on the 5th floor, I gave him a little perimeter around the building, and I took off a lot of square feet. Could have been more.
I have to say that that was what was so great about serving with you on the Larchmont Village Board. You really went into things and you checked things like that, you know, to see was it actually true.
Well, so 66,000, all right, is what proportion of 141,000? I don't know, 45%. I'm just doing that rough off the top of my head. So the rest of it, you had to dig through in here. You had to read these plans to know that that was what the construction was going to be. It's going to be 140,000 plus square feet. Underground, above ground for the parking lot, another above ground. But you know what the net benefit is? We actually did the calculations on those too. 20 spaces. So the village is going to trade its land and the possibility
Which is the parking lot now.
Yes, and the possibility of overfilling Chatsworth School, which might mean redistricting, it might mean new construction, it might mean a lot of things, right? Those possibilities for 25% of what this person says for school taxes, because I'm going to just give him 25% of the fair market value as the assessed value for condos and co-ops. He's got condos. That's nice. $100,000 to the school district and 20 parking spaces. And this, for people who don't know anything about Larchmont and just moved here, this is going to solve the problem of vacancies. This is good. I just want you to know, there are going to be 50 people living. He's saying it will revitalize downtown. There are 50 people who would be 56 people, 20, what is it, 26 units, 52 people. I don't know. 52 people who are adults and I don't know, 10, 20, who knows how many children.
Right.
And that, I want you to know, all by itself, it's going to be great. It's going to revitalize downtown, Palmer Avenue and Chatsworth Avenue shopping district. Is that the most preposterous thing you have ever heard? And I said this on the radio this morning. Somebody called in from Pelham. He said, how come there are so many vacancies? I said, I'll tell you why. Because there are 230 or 235 storefronts in Larchmont, 2 shopping areas, 200. And we don't have any magnets. We have no magnets. And since Designer One went out, there are no magnets. People don't come from Scarsdale to shop at a nail salon or a hairdresser. Very rare.
They do come to the restaurants and bars.
Lusardi's, absolutely. It's a great place, and it should be popular. It's justly popular. And Lusardi's has an extension down on Chatsworth Avenue, which is at the other end, not even at this particular shopping area. It's the other shopping area. We have 2 shopping areas, 235, 230 storefronts when I was mayor. I went around and counted them. Typical vacancy rate, 10%, 23. Can it be higher? Yep. Can it be lower? Yep. Depends on what's going on. But with the advent of Amazon, where you can get everything delivered to your house, even things that you didn't even know existed, right? Delivered to your house.
So easy.
The next day, what is left is Foley's, which I dearly love, and I wish everybody would support it, and the paint shop.
I was at Foley's today.
Yeah, but nail salons, dry clean, things that you can't do with Amazon. You can't send your nails off. You can't send your hair off.
They're working on it.
Well, they probably are, right? You can't. You can. I don't know if you can buy alcohol over in mail
You can
delivery.
order wine and stuff.
Well, maybe, but so liquor stores, dry cleaners, luncheonettes. Yep, restaurants. These are services that little bank branches that and some really interesting boutiques. Pink on Palmer. What's the one next door that Marcia runs? Oh my goodness, it's a great little store. I shop there all the time. Can't remember the name. So there are a couple of places that are unique here where we go, but these don't draw people from Mount Vernon and Mount Kisco
Especially
and
with
Greenwich.
the Palmer Avenue traffic.
Well, so that's the point is the reason, and I said this to this fellow who called in today, I said, there are too many storefronts for too few services that can thrive, particularly with the advent of internet delivery of this stuff, whether it's Amazon or somebody else. Chewy. I mean, these are things that are real live things, and there are a lot of storefronts. And he said, well, there are very few in Pelham. And I said, well, you're damn lucky, but you only got one shopping block or two shopping blocks. And you had a huge park right butt up against the railroad tracks. That's great. We don't have that.
Right.
We got 2-3 block shopping areas, and we don't, there's, in the whole town of Mamaroneck, there aren't that many people to support it. So at the end of the day, we have somebody who's, I don't know, taking advantage of the website thing, or the website's taking advantage of him, but the untruths are monumental. You can read all about this now.
That's
I'm coming to it.
And I also want to see the sign.
BetterLarchmont.org. The website is full of all kinds of information, and it's not as interesting to read as it is to say, but I have to say. And if you want a bumper sticker, can we zoom in on this there, fellas? Ladies and gentlemen, can we zoom? Can we do that? There we go.
Oh, there,
Say no
thank
to Centro. Larchmont needs a better plan. We do need a plan. We could use a little work down there. But we need a
Yes.
plan, not something which somebody will build and then other people will say, I want to build the same thing. You gave him or her the right to do it. Why don't I get it? And before you know it, you will have helter-skelter destroyed you will have destroyed the intimacy and the character of a place where your kids can ride their bicycles to get ice cream or walk to get ice cream, and it'll be overrun with monstrosities like this. Remember, you want to see this. You want to see this on bumpers. We have house signs are out there. There's bumper stickers out there. And the idea is, let's get somebody to come in and do basic ideas for a plan for the Chatsworth-Palmer intersection. And there's 2 blocks on Palmer in either direction and 1 block in one direction on Chatsworth, and a half a block before you get to the bridge when you get to Nikki's Pizza in the other direction. That's the whole thing. Well, let's get somebody to come in there and look at it. But if you just throw up stuff, 140,000 foot of construction, willy-nilly, well, the next Willie is going to come along and say, hey, I'm willy-nilly too. I
I'll
want
be
to put
one
mine
block
up
over.
across. Oh, yeah, across. I want to knock over the Chase Bank. Let's do it there.
Well, and we have the Hampshire property, where they're trying to put housing on, and that, of course, is a huge flood problem.
Well,
And of course, that would also affect the school population. I
Yes.
mean, we're already overcrowded.
well, but Chatsworth is people move here because they
Right.
think their kids are going to have a village school where they can walk to
Right.
school 3 blocks or ride their bicycles, or mom or dad can walk with the dog and 1 or 2 of the kids,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
no, it's idyllic.
Yeah, but if they get redistricted and people who come to
Oh, there
Chatsworth.
was that threat, remember?
Well, they're talking about it, and if there's a bunch of people move in with a bunch of kids, then Chatsworth is going to be out of space. I think they are like 2 from being completely jammed up, right? So if that's the case, then there will be a time when they will do what they said they were going to do 2 years ago, which is to redistrict. And if you thought Chatsworth was your school for your kids and that's why you bought here, you're going to find out it's not. Well, I don't know how they move them around, they bus them, or you drive them, or wherever it is. But the
Right, they
nearest
can't
school is
walk.
Central, and it's a mile away.
Right.
So
Well,
that's pretty
the
crazy.
October 21st at the community room,
At
correct?
the Village Center and
Village
behind the
Center,
library.
okay.
I don't know whether it's 7 or 7:30 is the meeting, but
Well, get there if you want parking.
yeah, if you want to park there.
Well, thank you so much for you and Kate and for all the people that care, making a
I'm
difference.
hoping that you care too, and that everybody out there will care and say, we don't want this for our village. And we sure don't want somebody who has a problem with the truth.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Have a good next couple of weeks.
You too.
Well, thank you.
Have an enjoyable time wherever you may be the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. And we want to thank very much to the stars the real stars are on the other side of the camera. So thank you.